Hey everyone, Eric here from Urban Story Studio, and today I want to share with you a quick tip on how I was able to successfully use the Generative Fill feature within Photoshop in order to take my existing photo here. You can see behind me it's sort of a square orientation, and I wanted to change that into a landscape orientation. So what I needed to do was basically fill in the missing pieces. So when I press my little button here, you can see I went from this to that in just a few clicks. So let me show you that process. Okay, so here I am in Photoshop. Let me zoom out just a little bit so you can see the whole thing. This is the finished product, but I want to work my way backwards. So I'm going to pull off some layers until I've got just this existing site photo. Not a great photo. Of course, I could always go back and say, hey, let's take a better photo. We're missing the cabin over here. This is for a friend's ranch, and he just said, hey, I want to do some improvements to what is essentially just kind of a water retention basin. It's like, how do we turn this from a utility to an amenity? And then there's, a meadow over here, and there's a house over here, and this is kind of this existing pond. And so the two of us got together, and I said, okay, well, give me your ideas, and I'll just render them up really quick using SketchUp and V-Ray. I'm not going to go into that process because will be a different video. But once I did my rendering, because I kind of rendered the whole thing because I wasn't quite sure, how much of the design I wanted to show. In this case, there maybe isn't much in this corner. It's okay if we lose that, but there was this slope and the connection to the cabin. Maybe I'll zoom in a little bit. You can see like the cabin is up here, and then there's a slope and these steps that take you down to the edge of the pond and a sitting area. I thought this is actually kind of an important part of the story, and we're losing it. We're actually cutting that off. Now, of course, I could always just come over here and just really quickly, we can see what this would look like. If I turn my crop bars on, I can just say, you know what? This is all you gave me. So this is all we're going to render. But it's not bad. Actually, I think it would do the trick. I think it tells most of the story. But I did go through the effort of modeling everything to the left and to the right. So this is where I'm like, well, I could come in and sort of fake this, but faking it would be a lot of work. I could come in and the way I would do it traditionally, maybe come in and to the lasso tool and grab some of these trees over here, just kind of grab this whole thing, copy, paste it. Of course, I would need to tweak it and scale it, maybe do some clone stamping, maybe do some erasing. Again, I'm not going to go through this whole process right now. I'm just kind of giving you an example. If you've never done this process, it can be quite a bit of work to just get this missing stuff. We're basically rebuilding this all from scratch, and there's a little bit of cleanup that we would need to do to get that to work. So you can see in my really fast demo here, it's not working for me. So I said, well, wait a minute. There's this thing called Generative Fill in Photoshop. What if I asked it to basically fill in the missing pieces for me? So first thing I want to do is just kind of define the scope of work. I basically want to say, I'm okay. I want to bleed over a little bit. I'm okay if we overlap the existing image. I'm okay if we overlap my rendering. There's really nothing over here but grass anyway. Now to find this, if you haven't used this before, I'm in the latest version of Photoshop. You can come over here to, it's called Contextual Taskbar. So within the Contextual Taskbar, in this case, it's asking me, what do you want to do? There's other things I could do. I could remove background. I could do some other things, but right now I just want to click on Generative Fill. And it's saying, what would you like to generate? Now this is optional. It would guess for you if you just click Generate, but I'm going to say Extend Canvas, or maybe not Canvas, Extend Existing Image to fill in missing area to match existing forest and meadow context. I don't know if that's the right way to say it, but this is kind of what in my brain, how I'm describing it. And then basically just click Generate and let the magic of the AI bots do their thing. So once it's done processing, you get these three options to choose from. So in this case, I could actually see which one I think fits the best for what I'm going for. Now, of course, every single time you do this, you're going to get some different variations. For me, I know there's a slope, I know there's some trees, I know there's some sky, and I know there's some grass. So as long as it has those three things, I can kind of choose which one I think works the most. The question for me is, does this slope go up? Now, if I was there on site, I could probably say, no, this slope goes up higher. I'm not quite sure, so I'm going to go with the trees that kind of give the impression of the slope going up higher, even if it doesn't. It also kind of balances out the higher trees on the left. So I'm going to go with that one. I think that looks pretty good. So I'm going to take this same prompt, I'm going to copy it. One thing that's kind of cool is you'll notice that it creates a new layer here in your layer stack, and it actually gives you the prompt as the layer name. So what's cool about that is that you can see what the prompt was in the event that you don't copy it or you want to repeat it later. So you can still come in here and sort of edit this. It knows that it's a generative layer. Now, of course, if you want to do some more work to it and you're happy with it and you're not going to change it, you can come in and rasterize that layer. And then from there, you can actually go and start doing some clone stamping or other things to manipulate it. I'm okay with it. I'm going to rasterize it. I'm not going to edit that again. We're going to do the opposite here. Sorry, we're going to do the same thing. We're going to do it on the opposite side of the canvas. Now, one thing I want to do before I generate this, just to be safe, there is a house here that's existing. I have this taken. I sort of just crudely copied it from another image and distorted it because you can see I don't think AI is going to be able to guess what this house or this cabin looks like. So instead, what I'm going to do is just kind of cover up this cabin so that it doesn't try to guess that. So for example, I have like a little layer that just says cover. And then what I'm going to do is zoom back out. I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to select this whole area. And then I'm going to generate. I'm going to paste the same prompt in, extend the canvas, match existing forest and meadow context, generate. We're going to give it a little bit of time to do its thinking. And we're going to see which of the three, if any, will work for our needs in this part of the canvas. It actually made a mistake. This is my mistake, not the AI's. It actually gave me a canvas. Now, I don't think it meant to do that. What I realize here is that when I was doing the AI, I was doing it underneath the render, and so it's not enough information. So if I delete that, what you want to do is the layer order that you're in is really important. You want to make sure that you are on top of all the content that it's going to need, or else it doesn't have enough information to work with. So now if we try this again, maybe I'll give it a little bit more area to work with. So it's got some more, I don't know. I'm still learning this here as we go. Let's try that one more time and make sure that we are above our render layer so that we are generating everything from this layer down. We'll wait for the robots to do their thing again. Luckily, this doesn't take too long. It's probably using enough energy to power a small town, but that's a different story. So here I just have to look at these again. This one feels too far away. These trees really are right behind the cabin. This one is pretty good. Remember, the cabin is going to block all this, so I'm really kind of looking at this tree line. And then this one is okay also, but maybe a little bit of work that I need to do on the ground plane to clean that up. So let's go with this middle option and say that's good. I'm going to close my little taskbar for now. I'm happy with what I've got. I'm also going to turn my house back on. And if I need to, again, maybe make some adjustments to the house to match the lightness or brightness of the background. And again, if I rasterize this, if I'm done editing it and I rasterize this, I can come over here and I realize that maybe it's changed too much. It's trying to come in and change the design. So in this case, it automatically applies a layer mask. And what I would do is come over here to, I would come over here and I would just gently and carefully remove the generative fill, the stuff that it made up, perhaps that I don't want. And from there, we would kind of make, let's see here, maybe we want to also, we could bring those behind. We could bring those behind the render layer. We can also bring the house behind. Let's see here. I maybe even, I don't know, this is just kind of play around a little bit. Maybe I want to go in and make that tree look more like the way that it is. And so again, what we have here is we have this ability to sort of selectively choose which stuff from the generative AI we want to use and which we don't. Now here, my render probably needs a little bit of cleanup. This is pretty raw. We're just kind of, here, that edge, a little bit of that glow around the edge, a little bit more work to do to kind of get this to jive correctly and look pretty good. But I do want to say, just in the few minutes that I've been doing this video, it looks pretty good. So again, we're going with what we had before. Nothing wrong with this. It's a perfectly good image. I like it. It tells the story. But again, I wanted to extend that canvas, and the way that I could do that is using that generative fill. And the last thing, you don't have to use it to just extend missing pieces. Like, for example, I have this big grass area that really wasn't part of the design. Now I can always crop this out if I wanted to, but let's say I don't want to crop it out. Maybe I just want to grab this thing here, and maybe I shouldn't have closed that taskbar yet. I want to generate, I'm going to say something like add boulders in grass area and match style of existing landscape. All right, let's see if that works. We can always try something different. I'm going to click generate, and we're going to see if we can take some of the boulders that are already in this image, and we're going to place them over into the right. Now think about getting a comment from a client saying, hey, Eric, this is great, but this area looks pretty blank and empty over to the right. What if you could put some boulders in there? And I could say, okay, I can do that. Maybe too many boulders, but again, that's where I could say maybe put 1 or 2 or 3. So maybe what we do is come over here and do that same thing, but we say add a couple of boulders, maybe, not so many. And let's see what happens instead of 50 boulders, maybe too many. But it did, if you just by glancing at this, it did get the style. It was able to pick up what was already in the view, and it was able to transfer it. So I don't have to go back, in this case, to go back to V-Ray and render out a whole nother render pass. So again, this is more open meadowy, and this is more grassy. And again, the same thing, I can come over here, I can rasterize if I like this one. I can come over here and say, let's rasterize this layer. And then from there, I can, actually, I don't even need to rasterize the layer. I think I can just come over here and say, I'm just gonna maybe split the difference a little bit. Maybe not so much of that wild grass, maybe just a few. And then I can see the difference off, on, maybe come over here and just mask some of that stuff out right there. Again, it's really just, it's not going to be perfect. It's going to get you close. And then you have to decide, is that going to be close enough? Maybe even have to go in and adjust the color or the brightness a little bit to sort of match. And there we go. But let me tell you right now, that is faster. That little rock change and that canvas extension, it's going to be faster than me going in and clone stamping. And it's also going to be faster than me going back into V-Ray, placing a rock, placing some trees, re-rendering a patch, going back into Photoshop and compositing. So while I don't want AI to try to replace the entire process, why I would not trust it yet to understand the design in its entirety, little things like a spot fill and a patch or a canvas extension, I'm starting to see the usefulness of that. So if you haven't tried this before, feel free to play around with it yourselves. And let me know in your comments what you think. Do you like the result? Do you think that it was good enough? Do you think there's a better way to do it? Let me know. We'll keep that conversation going on. So thanks as always, you guys, for watching. I'll see you next time.